If you're anything like me, Shi Zhiyong was one of your favorite Chinese weightlifters to watch over the past, well, really decade. He's always sort of had this fiery quality about his lifts. He's incredibly powerful, obviously, but it displays in his personality. He's excited to get after the weights. He wants to crush these weights. He wants to win. And generally speaking, I wish that's something that we got to see more of in weightlifting. I think there are too many quiet, humble, under-the-radar athletes that don't really display a lot of emotion. Sure, there are a lot who are, but I would like to see a lot more on the scene. And Shi, to me, has always been someone who is willing to let it all out and display how excited or upset he was. Beyond that, Shi will always be an athlete to me who somewhat lives in infamy. And by that I mean, I don't know if we'll ever really get to see what his peak could have been. And sure, we have somewhat of an idea of what his lifts could have been, but we even saw him putting up better totals in the Chinese national competitions than he did in international competitions for world championship medals. I mean, sure, we have plenty of training lifts, but that's not really a whole lot to work off of. As I somewhat alluded to in my last commentary on Li Huanhua, aka Giga Chad, Team China is pretty good at keeping their cards close, and you never really know what their athletes are fully capable and when they're capable of it. So we have these training videos that are incredibly infamous, but even then, we're not even really entirely sure that these are the biggest numbers their athletes have done. And when it comes to Shi specifically, we have some pretty infamous and incredible training videos. Obviously seen here, this 194 kilo power clean and jerk done in a Chinese national competition. And we've also seen him clean upwards of 206 kilos, pretty easily, I might add. Now, as you can see from this lift here, it's not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to make the jerk, but the fact that he's attempting massive weights like that in training and making them look very, very much easy makes me think he could make those weights in a competition if need be. But that's just the exact problem. There was never really an instance in which he needed to do it in a competition. In fact, off the top of my head, it's pretty hard for me to recall many instances of a Chinese athlete having to reach their absolute training maximum in a competition setting in order to claim a medal or a world record. I imagine most of them have well exceeded the lifts they've done in competition. Now, I know I might catch some heat for that because it's a very broad generalization. There are still plenty of athletes, Chinese or non-Chinese, who we've seen hit absolute maximum in training on video, but generally, the guys who are at the top of the top, particularly on Team China, really probably haven't touched their absolute maximums in a competition setting. Think about it. Let's say Shi Zhiyong has a very, very efficient power clean, which he absolutely does. We can say that he's probably power cleaning about 90% of what his absolute full clean is. Now, before people say anything, of course, he's not always in the shape to power clean 194 kilos, but let's say when he is in very good shape, he can do that. Taking that 90% number, we could extrapolate that he has the ability to full clean at least 213 kilos, which, going off of that power clean, I don't think is very ridiculous to say. Whether he makes the jerk or not, that's an entirely different competition, but he's a riser. I'm sure if he were in a setting in a competition where he needed to make the jerk, I'm almost positive he would. And just generally speaking, we know athletes from Team China tend to step up when the moment requires it. Just think Tian Tao in his last attempt in Rio in both the snatch and the clean and jerk, or Lu Xiaojun taking back his record from Li Dayin with a hurt back. And speaking of hurt back, it's really Shi's consistent string of injuries over the past Olympic quad, but really his entire career that have made it so that we don't really get to see the most he has to offer. And the timing of that in his career literally could not have been any worse, and that's incredibly frustrating, because for so long we were saying we're not getting the most out of him because there's nobody really pushing him his records. He would break his own world record, but he doesn't need to claim gold medals, so why would he? The rise of the new generation of Indonesian weightlifters, both Rizky and Ramat, made me believe that we were about to see the most aggressive and dominant Shi Zhiyong we had ever seen. 200 kilos and above every clean and jerk at every competition, bare minimum. He wouldn't allow himself to be defeated. It certainly wasn't too little, but I can't help but think it was much too late. It really seems as though when the moment is perfect, the iron is hot for Shi to show what he is most capable of, he's not ready. Or perhaps it's more accurate to say his body is no longer ready. As a big fan of his and his lifting, and just a fan of weightlifting in general, it's hard for me to admit, but I think his best days and best opportunities are well behind him. But those are just my general thoughts on it. Hate to be so pessimistic, but I think it's a conversation that's important to have, especially when it comes to a weightlifter as talented as he is. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Take care. Have a nice day.